If you're curious like me, you want to understand how you can automate the test process of your Android application. Am I right? And yeah, I want to explain you step by step all the system requirements that you have to install in your computer to achieve this. I want to explain you how you can find elements in your application, and at the end you're gonna be capable to understand how to implement the page or the screen object model in your framework. I hope that you enjoyed this video. My name is JoanMedia. Consider to subscribe and hit the like button so you can support this channel. So let's go ahead and understand how you can start your learning process about mobile testing with me. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, masters, this repository is going to be located at the description of this video, so you can come here and check all the system requirements that you need to have in your computer in order to run, well, the Android application that we're gonna review today. Also the different requirements that you need to get Appium and all the tools that we need. So it is gonna be kind of a generic video, right? Because I'm currently working on a Mac OS. However, you're gonna see in the repository that I'm gonna give you some links that can guide you if you're working with Windows, right? So I'm gonna try to give you the step-by-step that I have done in Mac OS, but you can try to convert this knowledge into Windows, and you can, well, Google, right, something that you don't know, and you can, well, try to follow my steps. Okay, so the first requirement here is that we need to install Node.js. So the only thing that we have to do is come here to the Node.js website, which is nodejs.org, right? And here you can download the version for your operating system. It is gonna detect where you're working on, right? In this case, I'm working in Mac OS, and well, you can download the LTS version because it is gonna be the stable one, right? Okay, so I'll recommend you to use this one. If you want to try the last one or the latest one, it is okay. So you just have to click on this. It is gonna download an executable file, install it in your computer, in your operating system, and then you can access the terminal, right? Let me open the terminal pretty quick here. And you can do a couple of commands to make sure that you have Node.js installed correctly in your computer. The first one is npm-v, and it is gonna return a version. If it is not returning anything, you have to be worried about, and you need to fix this issue because you need the access for the npm, which is basically the Node package manager. And we're gonna use this Node package manager to install Appium globally in our computer by the command line interface. So I need you to fix this issue if you have it. So then another command that you can use to make sure that Node.js is working correctly is just write down Node, okay? And it is gonna open the kind of a terminal where you can compile some Node.js code, okay? So this is the first step that I wanted to give you, and make sure that you have Node.js installed correctly in your computer. All right, that's it. Let's continue. The Java JDK, okay? You're gonna have a link to the Open JDK, the open source JDK. If you want to come here and download it for your operating system, you're gonna be redirected to this website, and you can download it here in the latest open source JDK if you want to, right? And there you're gonna have a lot of instructions of how you can install it for your computer. You can come here as well to the Java Downloads Oracle website. You can register yourself here and download it for your operating system. Or if you're working as me in Mac OS, and well, for some reason you are still working with Monterey at the moment that you are doing this exercise, you can use the Homebrew formula package manager, right? The Homebrew, and you can install the Adopt Open JDK, which is a developer version that we can use. And just installing this command, you're gonna be capable to get the JDK installed in your computer. All right, as soon as you have done this, and you make sure that you have downloaded this correctly, please go ahead and look about another video of how you can install JDK correctly in your computer. You're gonna need to install or set up the Java Home environment variable in your computer. Okay, how I did it, well, it is gonna be depending on where you are working, right? In my case, as I told you before, at the moment that I'm recording this video, I'm working on macOS Monterey, and I want to explain you the steps that I did. Okay, the first one was that I wanted to use this command that I can show you over here, right? And I want to open the terminal to show you what is going to happen. Okay, if I run this command, you're gonna see that it's gonna return the folder exactly where I have downloaded the JDK. Okay, with this in mind, I'll need to set this particular path and assign this path to a Java home variable. Okay, so how I did it, basically I use this command over here. I'm gonna use a vim to access this particular file to set up my environment variable. Okay, so I'm gonna do it. I can show you that inside of this file, in the first line, because these other 3 lines are something that I need to explain you in a few seconds and minutes, but the first line is where I set up the Java home variable, as you can see, right? It is doing an export Java home, it's equal to, and the place where the Java home is located, right? This is the path that I showed you before, right? With this in mind, since I'm using vim, you can use I, right, to insert data inside of the file, but in this case I don't have to, so I'm gonna use escape columns and WQ an exclamation just to save the file. So right now that you have exported your Java home variable, right, if you're using macOS, again, you're gonna need to source, right, that particular file. So you have to do something like this: source and the place where you have the environment variable setup, okay, which in this particular case for macOS Monterey, as I'm telling you, is located in this particular path. Okay, so when you source this particular file, it is going to be replicated in your computer, and now it is going to be set up for you. Okay, with this said, if you want to check that that this is working correctly or not, what you can do is perform the command echo, which is also in the repository over here, right? Echo Java, but with the $sign at the beginning, Java home, and it should return where you have the JDK installed in your computer, right? I think that this is the same procedure for Windows, if I'm not wrong. So with this echo Java home, it should return the place where you have installed your JDK in your computer. I could be wrong, but I think that this is the same process to make sure that it was configured correctly. Okay, with this said, we have installed Node.js and Java, and also the Java home variable. All right, so let's continue with the next step, which is Android Studio and add Android home variable. All right, let's do it. Okay, masters, the next step that you have to follow if you want to, well, try the same demo that I'm explaining you here, is that you need to install Android Studio, right? And then you have to set up the Android home variable. Okay, I'm gonna explain you step by step how I did it, so you can convert this information depending on where you're working, and well, so you can understand what is going to happen here. Okay, you have to access the website where you can download the Android Studio. It is placed here in my repository, and download it just clicking on this button. It is going to recognize the operating system where you are working on, and it is going to download an executable file that you can just click on that, and it is going to be downloaded. Okay, with this in mind, as soon as you have done that, you're going to need to come here to my repository and check how you can set up Android home, the variable in your operating system. If you're using Windows, you can come here and check this guideline of you, or you can come here and check the Mac guideline as well. Let me explain you how I did it, as I told you before, in the macOS system that I'm working right now. Okay, the first step that I did was to come here to the terminal. Okay, let me just clear this stuff, and I accessed I can access the path of my SDK looking for users. Okay, and in the users, you're gonna see that I have the name Joan Esquivel here, which is my name, and inside of this particular file, if I check it out, I'm gonna need to access the library. So I'm gonna do a cd library, and inside of library I can look for the Android library that was automatically created as soon as you download it and install the Android Studio. Okay, with this in mind, you can access as well the SDK, which is the important part here, and you're gonna see that we have a lot of folders inside. Okay, we have to take care about 2 of them for now. Okay, the first one is going to be you can check it out here in the repository, tools, which is this one over here, And also you have to take care of platform and tools, which is another folder over here. Okay, with this said, you're gonna need to set up the Android home variable with these two folders in mind. Let me explain you how I did it. Well, as you remember in the last part of this video, I explained to you how I set up the Java home variable, right? It was using Vim. I accessed where the environment file needs to be set up, which is over here. All right, and well, I think that I did something wrong here. Let me check. Okay, I did a mistake here. I'm sorry. It's ZSHM. There it is. And you can see that, well, I have set up the Android home variable over here, pointing to the SDK folder that I just showed to you. And then, well, I was adding the path and specifying the platform tools and the tools folder. This is essential. If you don't set this up, well, you're gonna have an issue when you try to set up Appium in your computer. Okay, so this is essential. Take care of this particular detail and try to convert this data into your operating system configuration. All right, with this said, I just have to, well, save the files here. Okay, and with this done, the next step that you have to do is source, right, your environment files to replicate what you have done in your operating system, in this case Mac OS, and then you can just check it out, or check out the Android home variable, right? Just doing Android echo Android home, and it is going to return the Android SDK folder and the whole path over here. With this said, that's basically all you need to do. You can find all the steps that I have done here in the repository in case you want to try it out. And at the end, you can see that I am saying that you can check if all your, well, if the Android home variable is configured correctly. You can use the Android debug bridge. So you can use the command adb. And well, it is going to return something, and you can actually see the ADB devices in your computer. And you're going to see that at the moment that I explain you this, I don't have any device attached and running, and it is okay. I'm going to explain you how you can create a virtual device in the next parts of this video. Okay, but that's basically the stuff that I did in order to install Android Studio and the Android home variable. So you can translate this to any other operating system, and we have accomplished the configuration of 3 requirements: the Node.js, the Java JDK and Java Home, and also the Android Studio and Android Home variable. That's it. Let's continue with the next part, which is going to be about download the Appium Inspector, which is now another software that is not coming with built in the Appium. We need to download it from another source, and I want to explain you how I did it. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, masters, the next requirement that we need to install in our computer is the Appium Inspector. Okay, so you have to look for Appium Inspector in Google or access it in my repository. And you can see that this is basically a GUI inspector for mobile apps and more, powered by a separately installed Appium server. Okay, this is important. If I'm not wrong, in the past, the Appium Inspector came in built when you install the Appium server. However, now it is a separated instance and you need to install it manually for yourself. Okay, with this said, well, you can come here to the releases part. Let me see where it is. There it is, the releases, and you can well, download the Appium Inspector for your operating system, right? So if you want to do it as well, you can download it the same version. And well, I recommend you to download the latest version to get this installed correctly. Okay, when you have downloaded and you execute the executable file, right? Let me just stop this download because I don't need it. I'm gonna access it by well, the Appium Inspector icon here, and you're gonna notice that it is gonna open this view. Okay, we have a couple of tabs here: Appium Inspector, Appium Server, I'm sorry, which is a local instance, and then we have the select cloud providers. So we can implement another cloud provider to execute or check the mobile app However, I'm gonna do it in an Appium local server, and well, I'll recommend you to use the same configurations that I have over here, right? The remote host is going to be 0.0.0, and the remote path is going to be /. That's it. And the remote port, you can set it up for any any number that you want, and it is free in your computer. In my case, I'll be using 4724, and you're gonna see why I'm using this remote port when I start the Appium server. Okay, but yeah, that's the configuration that I recommend you. And if you want to, I have already a desired capabilities configuration for the application that I have. And these desired capabilities are a kind of configuration that you have to set to get your application get the Appium server connected to your application. So you can access or set up some configurations here. Config 1, for example, this is the value 1. You can specify another desired capability here, config 2, and the value 2, right, and so on. If you want to set up the same configuration as me, you can come here and set up every single this one for the applications that I have. I'm gonna explain you every single configuration that I'm doing here in a few seconds, because it has a sense, and you're gonna understand why I'm specifying, for example, the device name, this one, Pixel 4 API 31S, right? The platform version, of course, is gonna change. If you're using Android, well, you have to specify Android. And in this particular case, this is the driver that I'll be using for the demo. But that's basically it. Just install the Appium Inspector. If you want to set up the same configurations as me, you're gonna have the same or this information as well in my repository, this one over here. And that's it. I'll explain to you what is the meaning of every single desired capability in the next part of the video, okay? Now that we have installed basically everything, I need to install the Appium server in my computer, okay? Here you have a couple of options available in the official documentation, and the first one is installing Appium with this option over here, which is come into the official documentation, click on download Appium, and here you're gonna see the latest release available for you. So if you want to download the GUI application, you have to come here. It is gonna be pretty similar to this interface, but without the desired capabilities. You're gonna be able to set up the server, the remote host, the remote port, and all the custom configurations that you want to use for your Appium server, okay? But in my case, I want to use another approach here. Let me explain you why. If you access this documentation in Appium 2, well, there is a kind of a beta of Appium 2 that you can use, all right? And the way to use it is with this particular command, npm install -global, right, or G, and then you have to specify Appium at next. This is going to be basically a way to install Appium globally in your computer with Node. And this is another approach. And if you want to try to check if you install it correctly, you can come here and use the command Appium -v, and it is going to return the beta version that you have available here, right? I like this option. It is simpler, and I think that it is worth to try it, right? If you want to do it with the GUI, it's totally okay, and it is up to you, okay? With this said, in the next part of the repository, you can see that I recommend you to use the Appium Doctor, okay? It is going to help you to check if your OS meets the Appium requirements. And well, you just have to install this node package, which is npm install Appium Doctor -g, okay? If I run this command, it is going to install the package globally, and then you just have to use the command Appium Doctor, and it is going to run a script that is going to check if everything is set up and working correctly. You can see here that you're going to have the Android home variable installed correctly, the Java home correctly. If it is not working or not configured as expected, you're going to have a next over here, like this one over here. This is something that I can deal with and I'm not interested in fix for now, all right? Also, it is checking the ADB command, right, the Android and the emulator and so on. You're gonna have everything checked if you want to see that all your environment is set up correctly. And then you can use the Appium drivers, the commands that comes with Appium 2, and you can use, for example, this command: Appium driver install UI automator 2. This is the driver that we're gonna use to communicate our framework and the Appium Inspector, and that's a requirement. I'm gonna explain you why in a few seconds, but this is a requirement, right? So with this installation, you also can use another command that I specify here in the repository, which is Appium driver list, and you're gonna see the drivers that you have installed in your computer. You can see that for now I have the XCUI test, which is for iOS, and also you can see the UI Automator 2 for Android. But here we have more drivers for Windows, Mac, Espresso, Safari, Gecko, and so on. So that's basically it, guys. For now, I think that we have installed the environment, and now I need to explain you some sample applications that you can use, and I'm gonna explain you how you can configure WebDriver.io to start working with the applications that we're gonna be automating. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Next step that we have to do is install WebDriver.io, which is a test framework for web and mobile applications, right? So you can copy the command that I can give you here in the repository: npm init wdio and a dot to specify the folder where you are, and then you just have to go ahead and open your terminal, look where you want to have your project, right? In my case, I want to store it in my test automation folder, and inside I have a test folder which is empty right now. So I'm gonna paste the command that I just gave you, right? And then it is gonna start the installation process, right? And you're gonna see that now inside of my folder test, it has already created a package.json, and then the terminal is going to start giving us some steps to start a kind of a skeleton or a structure of our framework automatically. Okay, and we're gonna have some options that we can select. It is gonna up to you, or you can choose your preferred configurations, right? In my case, I'll be working in my local machine, right? I'll be using Mocha. You can use Cucumber just to have a new framework from scratch using Cucumber as well, or Jasmine. But in my case, I want to use Mocha. If you want to use TypeScript or Babel, you can use them as well. I'm gonna select no just for the demo purpose. If you want to specify where you want to have your specs, this is the default place, and I'm gonna save that as well. Do you want to WebDriver.io to auto-generate some tests? I can say no, because I already have an example. I want to explain you how I did it, right? If I want to use a specific reporter, you can do it as well. You can use, for example, the Mocha Awesome reporter, the HTML nice, the integration with the Slack. If I'm not wrong, here we have Allure, but I'll be using the default one just to explain you the demo, and probably in the future we can take a look at all the reports as well, right? I'll be using a spec. In my case, I don't want to add a plugin, so I'm gonna just press enter, and then here is an important step. I'm gonna deselect the Chrome driver selection here, and I'll be using the Appium service, which is this one. I am selecting and deselecting this using the space bar in my keyboard, so that's the thing that I'm doing. And as soon as I have selected this, you can select a couple of them at the same time, but I'll be using Appium, just Appium, okay? So I'm gonna click on or press the enter key, and then I'm specifying the base URL localhost, and it is asking me if I want to install dependencies. I'm gonna say yes. That's it. Now the terminal is going to start the installation process, and if we want to, I can access this by my Visual Studio Code. I can access the folder. This is, which is test in this case, right? You can see that the node modules is installed or is in installing process, as you can see over here in the package.json. We're gonna have all the dependencies that I specified during the configuration process, and that's it. Something that I would recommend you if you want to make sure that WebDriver.io configures or is gonna work correctly is that you may want to install Appium in your local dependencies if you want to. So you can use the same command that we did before, but now instead of using globally configurations, we can save it as a dev dependency. If you want to skip it, it is okay, but well, sometimes it is a good advice that I will give you, right? Just to have the all you need in your project. Okay, so with this set, I think that also, if you see the repository over here, I'm recommend you to check the driver list. Why I am telling you this? Because sometimes when you install again the Appium in your local repository, right, you're gonna, if you check, for example, the Appium driver list, you're gonna see that well, in this particular case, it is installed, so it is gonna work correctly. But there are some times that is like, I don't know if the word is correct. The correct word is override, right? The different installations that we have done before. So if you want to check it out, just use the command Appium driver list to make sure that the driver is installed correctly in your computer. All right. With this said, you already have a WebDriver IO project up and running, and it is just a matter of some configurations that I'm gonna explain you in a few seconds that that you can use and start doing your automation. All right, now we have to open the Android Studio software over here. Okay, I recommend you to open or create a new project. If you don't have one, you just have to come here, select on phone and tablet, click on no activity, click on next, and just finish the installation process. I don't want to create a new project because I already have one over here. Okay, and well, as soon as you open this, you're gonna have the Android dependencies over here, all the structure of your example application, right? And then you have to click on this button that I'm over in here, which is device manager. You click on that and you're gonna need to create a new device. Okay, so you have to come here, click on phone, for example, and in my case, I'm using the Pixel 4 phone, all right, the virtual Pixel 4. Since this has the Play Store over here, and I, well, for testing purposes, I wanted to have this over here. Then you just have to click on next, and you're gonna need to download the different images that you want to use for your phone. What I'm trying to say here is that, for example, I already have downloaded the S and the R releases, all right? But if you want to use the Android 10 version, or if I want to use it, I need to download it or download the image over here. And well, you can see that I cannot click on next unless I do it, right? So I just did it before with the R and the S release versions, and you can see that, well, the S version is related to Android 12, right, and the R one is for Android 11. So I have downloaded both of them because, well, I'm gonna explain you what you have to do, but you have to click on next as soon as you have it, and you have to place a name here. This name is important, and I'm gonna explain you why in a few seconds. Okay. With this set, you just have to click on finish, and you're gonna have a virtual device configured. Okay, so I'm gonna click on cancel because I have done that before, and as you can see, I have a couple of devices here. I do have a Pixel 4 with the S version, or with the Android 12 version, right? And also I have another Android device with Android 11. You can see that both of them are Pixel 4, but the image is different for both of them, right? I'll recommend you to have a couple of different devices because you are gonna need a couple of them if you wanna use WebDriver IO and, well, the Appium Inspector at the same time. You're gonna understand that in a few seconds, okay? So once you have done this, in order to run your virtual device, you have to click on this button over here. It is gonna start the emulator. It is gonna open your phone, and you can see that it is over here. Of course, that you're not going to have the installations, the applications already installed, because it is a process that you have to do. And I'm gonna explain you that in a few seconds, okay? Don't worry about it. And you can start the other emulator if you want with another Android version over here. You can see that the second one, the S image, is for the Android 11. The S is for Android 12, right? And the S version is for, this is the S one, and this is the R one, and the R is for Android 11. Okay, that's it. Now that you have created your emulators, right, your virtual devices, we're capable to start um, the connecting process with the Appium server, and you're gonna understand that in the next part of this video. Okay, masters, the next part of this video is that you have to download a sample application so you can try to automate, well, and try to do your first steps in this world, right? So you have to come here in the sample applications part of the repository. And well, I am listing here different resources for you if you want to try. I'll try to update this list as soon as I have more resources free, but I'll be using the first option here, which is a SOS demo hybrid application. This is an application that is currently in development, and well, we have some interesting releases already. You can see that, well, if you see this video over here, it has a login view, we have a card with different options here and so on. And well, you can come here and try to automate this kind of functionalities, right? So in order to download this APK, you only have to come here in the repository, click on this here link, and it is gonna redirect you to the releases part. You can download the latest release just coming here and looking for the asset. So I'll be using this APK. You only have to click on this link and it is going to download the APK file for you in your computer. And if you want to follow my example here, what I have done is that my personal folder and the repository, right, that I am constructing from scratch, I have created a folder here named app, right? So if you access the app, I have a couple of folders here, Android and iOS, right? And well, you can see that inside of Android, I have all the applications that I want to use, right? In my case, it is only one, if I'm not wrong. It has the name 244 at the end, so probably this is the one. This one was another one that I was testing, but it is already deprecated, so I think that this one is a better example for now. And well, just to mention, this application was developed using React Native, and yeah, I just wanted to give you that thing or that data, because it is not a native application developed in Kotlin, right? But yeah, it is valid as well, and we're gonna see what we can see in the example in a few seconds. Okay, let's continue with the video. All right, masters, I want to start explaining you how you can use the Appium Inspector, the software that we installed before, right, to connect well, this application with the emulator that we have in Android Studio, and how you can start the execution of the application that we already downloaded. Okay, so the first thing that I want to teach you is that, well, if you want to follow my demo here, you have to specify this remote host 0.0.0.0. You have to specify your preferred remote port. This is an important number, and I'll explain to you why in a few seconds, so keep in mind that number. And also you have to specify the remote path over here. Okay, so then you have to specify the desired capabilities to connect your application, I'm sorry, the Appium server, in this case the Appium Inspector, to the the Android emulator that we created before. Let's imagine that you want to use, I don't know, maybe the Pixel 4 with Android 12 or the Pixel 4 with Android 11. It doesn't matter. You can specify that kind of things in this desired capabilities configuration. Okay, so in my case, I already have some configurations done, and I want to explain you what you can do. The first parameter here is going to be the platform name. In my case, this is going to be Android, all right? This is the demo over here. So this is the first parameter if you want to follow my steps. But now the platform version is going to be dependent on what you have configured before, all right? Let's imagine that I want to configure my Appium server or the Appium Inspector to be connected to the Pixel 4 API. 31 with the S release, which is Android 12. So I'll be specifying the version here, which is on platform version 12, right? Then we have the device name over here. This device name is gonna be dependent on what you have configured. If I come here and click on edit, well, this is the device name that I have configured. It is totally up to you. You have to change it depending on what you have done, right? The next parameter here is going to be app. This is the location of where you have your APK, all right? In my case, if you remember the last section of this video where I was planning to have my application under the demo, right, in my framework under app, Android, and you can see the name of the application and the extension .apk. That's amazing, right? And then at the end, we need to specify the Appium column automation name. And in this case, this is the driver that I want to use, which is going to be UI Automator 2. All right. So once you have this already, you're going to be capable to come here. Let me just close some terminals here because I want to, well, explain you step by step what is going to happen. Okay. I'm going to expand this. I'll click on, let me see, on the start session button over here, and you're gonna notice an error. And it is telling me that the Appium server is not running, and that is totally true. So I'm gonna come here and I'll be opening my terminal. Okay, in my terminal I'll be using the command Appium -p. Okay, and I'll be specifying the port that I have in my Appium Inspector just to have it in the same page, right, which is 4724, if I'm not wrong, right? Let me just check again. Yeah, that's it. And now you're gonna see the Appium server is starting in the port that I have specified. It is identifying a couple of available drivers. One of them is the UI Automator 2, right? That's amazing. You can see the automation name over here, actually. Okay, and that's it. Now I can start the connection in my computer. Let me show you this. If I click on the start session, it is going to start the connection with my device, and the application is going to be installed as well in the device over here. You can see that now I can, for example, take a look on this element and the different selectors that we have, right? We have an XPath. We can click on the tab button, so it is going to open the left menu over here, and so on. We have a lot of options, and we're gonna talk about this in depth in a few seconds in the next part in the video. But this is a configuration that you need to have for sure, right? And you see the usage of this. It is like the if you're related with web testing, right? This is like the Chrome DevTools, right? Up to see what is inside of the application and the different, and it's a structure, right? So that's amazing, guys. Let's continue with the video. So now that we have installed and we know how to use the Appium Inspector, I want to explain you how we can connect WebDriver IO using a similar approach than the one that I'm using here with this Appium server. Okay, so well, as you probably remember, we have installed WebDriver IO in a folder, right? Now we have a structure like this one. You don't have the test folder, and probably yeah, this is the only folder that you don't have, but you should have the package.json in this particular structure. Okay, so the first thing that I want to show you is that you can access your wdio.conf.js file over here, and you're gonna need to, well, if you want to handle it differently, it's totally fine, right? I'm just giving you the approach that I'm using here, and the first line here is just requesting the project path that or instance, that the word here is instancing the variable that required the path module. All right, with this set, you're gonna see that in my second line here, the Android path constant is going to have a function here, the project path.join, and in the first parameter is gonna be the process.cwd. Let me explain you what is happening here. If I open the terminal, okay, just open the terminal here, and if I do a pwd, you're gonna see that my project path is this one. Okay, so with this command in the line number 2, the process.cwd, I'm just, well, getting this string, right, as part of the new constant Android app path. Okay, and then I just specifying where is my Android application located. So for example, if I access the app, right, you're gonna see that inside I have an Android folder, and if I access the Android folder, you can see that inside is my application or the APK that I need. Okay, so that's it. I'm specifying the name of my application and the extension file at the end. This is important because here I am constructing the Android app path that we are sending here in the Appium Inspector, right? I'm just building this route. All right, with this set, also it is important that you have a different port here if you're working locally. For example, you can see that the Appium Inspector has the port 4724, right? And in my WebDriver IO configuration, I do have the 4723. It is different. And the reason of this is because if you're running your Appium Inspector at the same time that you're gonna run your WebDriver IO local test, you're gonna have a conflict there, and it is not going to work. Okay, so I'm using different ports for this matter, and then in the specs part, I'm just specifying where I have my test located. You're gonna see that I have created a test folder here. Inside of the test folder, I do have an specs folder, and inside I have a couple of tests here. A simple one using plain WebDriver IO syntax, and then another one using the page object model or the screen object model, depending on how you can you want to say it. Okay, but we're gonna talk about the structure in the test later and how you can find elements in your application. But for now, we need to specify something else here in the wdio.conf.js, and it is the capabilities that you need to tell WebDriver IO where you want to send your test. Okay, so and how to connect with Appium and the application. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. You're gonna see that the capabilities are going to be pretty similar than the configurations that I have with the Appium Inspector. You can see the platform name here, and I have declared the same stuff here in my configuration file. I have the Appium device name as well. Let me show you this. But now the configuration changes a bit because I'm sending another device. If you see, then I was using, or in the past I was using the S release, which is the Android 12 version, right? The API 31. But in this particular case, I'm just specifying another one, which is another simulator or emulator that I have in my Android Studio, right? Do you remember that? This one over here. And I'm running the R version here as well. So I can access this emulator to send my tests. Okay, now that I have this information here, you can see that also the version is going to be Android 11. So you can come here and check the Android 11 version here. I'm also specifying the name of my driver, UI Automator 2. That's important as well. And that's basically the changes, right? And also you can see the Appium app configuration here at the end. The Appium app that I was just sending the string. Well, now it is constructed dynamically, right? Depending on where you have your project. Doesn't matter if it is in Windows or it should matter if it is in Windows, right? Because we have another, we have like backslash, right, in Windows. So yeah, this is probably a good solution for, in this case, Mac OS and Linux, right, I guess. Okay. With this said, I think that the next part here is going to be checking that the services are pointing to Appium. We check that, or we installed, or we decided to use Mocha as the test framework, right? You can see the report is a spec over here, and that's it. You can try that to connect your application to automate some stuff. In my case, I do have some code here, right? But you can just have a simple it in your describe, and you're gonna be capable to run your application tests just for demo purposes. Okay, so I can do here in the terminal another command, and it is going to be npx wdio, and you're gonna see that I am not in the correct folder. I'm sorry guys. So let me clear again the terminal. Let me go back to the root directory of my project. There it is. I have the package.json here. There it is. Yep. And I can do again the npx wdio command, right? And you're gonna see that WebDriver IO is going to start the connection with Appium, all right? And since we're using the Pixel 4 API 30R device, you can monitor the execution of your test in your emulator over here, as you can see, right? That is beautiful. And the code inside and how you can find the selectors of your application is the topic of the that we have to discuss yet, but you can see that this is working and it is connected as expected. It is currently executing a couple of scripts in my specs folder, as you can see over here, right? And it is doing the job that needs to be done. All right, so guys, I think that you can see at the end that I am having the results here in my spec reporter, and everything is working fine because I have configured the test already as I was expecting this. Okay guys, so in the next part of the video, this is going to be about how to find elements in your application using the Appium Inspector. So I hope that you have fun with that, and I would like to request you a like, right, and subscribe to see more of this content for free in this channel. Thank you guys, and let's continue with the beautiful video that we are doing here. Okay, let's understand how to find the elements in our application. I want to give you a lot of examples and some possibilities that you can take advantage in your future, right, when you want to automate an application. So let's go ahead and open the Appium Inspector, and I want to explain you, actually I'm gonna open the Android Studio, and I want to explain you the workflow that I want to try to automate. Okay, so I'm gonna open my application here, and I want to come here, open the hamburger menu here, so it opens the left menu, or it expands it, right, and I want to then click on login. All right, right now it is logged in because I was doing some tests, but let me just log out, and then I'm gonna click on login again, right? You're gonna see that if I open here an incorrect username or a user that is not registered, and if I enter the password test as well, it is not going to work, and we're gonna have an error message here saying provided credentials do not match any user in this service. Okay, so I want to enter the correct username and password, which are bobexample.com, and password, which is over here. So I'm gonna click on this, and you're gonna see that it is gonna enter the correct data, right, automatically. It is gonna save our time. If I click on login, it is gonna redirect us to the catalog, and you're gonna see the products at the top of our application. All right, this is the workflows, or those are the workflows that I want to try: the login, or the valid login, and the incorrect or invalid login. All right, let's go ahead and try to do it with a WebDriver IO. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is look for the hamburger button here, the expand button here, right? So you have different ways to do this, but one of them is which is this one. You're gonna see that button has the accessibility ID. All right, it has the open menu accessibility ID. How to find an element by this particular ID? It is pretty easy. Let me open the Visual Studio Code instance here, and you're gonna see that I'll be using Mocha.js. If you wanna understand what is a describe, what is a before each, and other hooks, what is a need, I recommend you that just find or look for JoanMedia Mocha.js, and you're gonna find a whole a project and explain you what is going to happen with Mocha, right? But the scope of this video is try to understand how to automate this with WebDriver IO, so I'll try to do it pretty direct. Okay, so as you probably know, WebDriver IO work with async await, and you can see that I'll be using that syntax here, right? That's basically what I'm doing here, and then I'll be finding the element by its accessibility ID using this symbol over here, right? And then I just have to click on that, and it is going to open or expand what I need. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the Appium Inspector, and I'll be pressing the tab button here. So it's gonna open that, and I can continue looking for the next element, which is the login button here. Okay, it is kind of difficult to map the login button, so you can open these show element handles here, and you can press on that. Okay, if I hide the elements handles again, it is gonna close that stuff, and you're gonna see that this is the element that I need to look for, right? So which is this one actually. Okay, so how I can find the login element here? I can give you an example, and it is by its text. Okay, so what I'm doing here in my WebDriver IO framework is that it is gonna look for all the elements in the DOM, in the DOM now, right? in the app structure, and then it is gonna look for the text login, or the element that has the text login. And that's how I am finding the element over here by its text attribute, and then it is not the attribute. Yeah, it is an attribute in this particular case, right? And then I just click on that, and it is going to open the login window. Okay, so let me just go log out again, and you can see that this is the view that I want to achieve. So I'm gonna click or tap on that element. Okay, and that's it. Now we have the login view. All right, with this said, well, I can access the username, the password, and the login button. You're gonna see that, well, this is the view that I have, and let me explain you how I look for every single element. For example, when I wanted to look for the input element, the username input, this one over here, I use it using the content description attribute. Okay, so if I open the Appium Inspector here, you're gonna see that it has a content description attribute. It doesn't have text, it doesn't have it has an accessibility ID, but I want to give you another example, right, using the content description. So I was looking for every single element in the application, and then well, you can see that I was looking for the attribute content description, and there you have the value. And using the command .setValue, you can set the value that you want to. So you can, for example, emulate the action here using send keys in your Appium Inspector. You can enter, for example, test in your username, send keys, and you're gonna have the value in your Appium Inspector. Okay, the same stuff for the password. In this particular case, I wanted to locate the element by its content description, as you can see over here, right? However, it is going to change a bit because I wanted to specify the element with this particular content description attribute, which is android.widget.editText. Where is that? It is the class, this one over here. So I'm just specifying the class element that I want to find, right? And then I am specifying the content description. So if you see the XPath already created automatically, you can see that this is basically what is happening over here. All right, that's it. And well, then I just wanted to click on the login button. I followed the same approach here, right? And you can see that the message is going to be, oh, I need to enter a password here. I'm sorry. Yeah, let me do it. Test. And then I'll be clicking on login. Okay. And now the error message is going to be displayed. And this is the message that I want. So you can perfectly get the element by its default XPath if you want. I have done that just to prove you that it is going to work. It is not recommended. You can see that using XPath locator is not recommended at all and can lead to fragile tests. Okay, so ask your development team to provide unique accessibility locators instead. Okay, but that's the solution that I have for now, because you can see that the accessibility ID is not provided for this message. So, well, when I click on this, you're gonna see that it is gonna work, right? And let me see. Yeah, here we have the assertion. I'm sorry, guys. And I'm just looking for the element, all right? And then I am using the assertion to have text to validate that this is the text that we have displayed when we click, or after you click on the login, okay? That's it, guys. That's basically the idea. The only difference here is that when you well, enter the correct username and password, right, you're gonna see that it is gonna open the catalog. I'm sorry, guys, let me see what is happening here. Let me just log out again. And if I log in correctly, you're gonna see that I'm gonna be redirected to, I don't know why it is checkout. It is not checkout at all, guys. Let me close the application, because it is kind of a weird behavior that shouldn't happen. There it is. If I click on login and I enter the correct username and password, it should redirect to the products catalog. Okay, so I wanted to find this element. Well, I have done the same stuff that I am showing you right now, but I'm using a different approach using the Android Automator selector. This is native from the Android perspective, okay? So the approach here is gonna be different. You have to look for the Android, or you have to use the Android equal syntax, and then you have to create a new instance of the UI selector, okay? You can find the text element that you want to find, and also you can specify the class name. But this is not the only solution or the only way to find an element using UI selector. Here in the comments, you're gonna find a lot of more context and different methods that you can use to find elements using the UI selector as well. Okay, just wanted to say you that, because it is important that you have more options and you understand what is happening. Okay, and then I'm just checking that if I log in correctly with the user and the correct password, I just want to check that the products selector, right, the header is displayed and it has the product text. Okay, and that's it, guys. I guess that this is the example. So if I run it again for you guys, you now have context of what is happening under the hood, and you're gonna see that in my Android Studio, right, we're gonna have the demo up and running. It is gonna, well, close the instance of the current application, right, and then it's gonna start over with the very first scenario, wrong user, and you're gonna see that it has the incorrect message over there. And if I try the correct username and password, it's gonna be redirected, and the products header is gonna be validated as well. Why it is repeating here the same structure? It is because I am using well, a page object model or a screen object model, right? So you're gonna understand why we should applicate or implement another a pattern if you want to have more clear tests. But for now, you can see that the login.end-to-end.js test, which is this one that I just explained to you, is working correctly, and the scenarios for should not log in with invalid credentials, which is the first one over here, is working fine, and the second one, which is should log in with valid credentials, is working perfectly fine, and it has a check over there. Okay, masters, let me give you an example here. This is the code that we developed before, right? Mapping the elements, checking the functionality, doing and checking the different actions that we can do. For example, clicking, set values, making assertions, right? Using the expect, or I'm sorry, the to have text method, right? And I want to give you another overview of how this code could look, right? If you see this code, which is hard to understand what is happening, and if you compare it with this another code here, it is the same, but now it has a kind of order, right? And you can see that it is readable. For example, here you can see that I'm accessing a login screen object, and I'm just doing a login action, right? And I'm sending the username and the password, and I can reuse the same class and the same method in the second example here. All right, so I want to explain you how I achieve that step by step. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it, and I'll be opening the login screen object. Okay, you can see that this is a class login screen, and I'm doing a module exports at the end of the JS file. You can see that this is a new instance of the login screen. So when I want to implement this class, I just have to create a constant, for example, name the constant with the name that I want. All right, in my case, it's going to be login screen, and now it is requiring well, just the JS file that I created with the class structure. Okay, you're gonna see as well that I have some get methods over here, getters in the class. Okay, and you're gonna see that every single getter is going to return, well, the selector that I want to map. You can see that the first one is just the selector for the input or the username input, right? The second one is for the password input. The third one is for the button login, and the last one for the error message text that we can get when we enter the incorrect username and password. Do you remember that? Let me show you this. This one. This element is part of the login view. You agree? Right. Great. And then you can see that I have created an asynchronous method here, which is login. It is going to receive a couple of parameters that I'll be sending in my test instance, wrong user and wrong password, or the correct one and the correct password, right? And that's basically it. This is a simple method that we can call. We can just send a couple of parameters and we can make an assertion then, right? That is great. Also, I have created more objects for the different things that we have. For example, I decided to create a left side menu, all right, screen that contains a couple of elements. I think that I have made a mistake, and I agree. I want to explain you what I have done. I have created a hamburger menu button in a class. However, I guess that this hamburger button should be in the header class over here, or in this view at least, right? And however, I included this element as part of the left side menu. Let me show you this. If I come here to my left side menu.screen.js, I have created a getter for that button. I need to, well, get that element outside of this class because I think that it doesn't belong to this part. So I just wanted to, well, give you my point of view of this, and I have to modify it, of course. Okay. I think that you're gonna see the change in the repository in any time soon. Okay. And I also created another getter for the login menu button, which is this one over here, which is this is part of the left side menu, the login option. We can create more getters for every single one of this one, right? Okay. And yeah, that's what I was doing. And also in my catalog screen, you can see that I have mapped, well, this header here, this title, the products one. Okay, that's it. And then you just have to implement every single instance of that. For example, if you want to click on the login menu option inside of the left side menu screen, you only have to create a constant, require the JavaScript file, and make your action. That's it, guys. You can see that this is pretty powerful, and well, you're gonna find the code in the description of this video. If you want to try something else as well, go ahead and do it. And also, if you have more feedback about what we can improve here, it's totally okay. I'm open to hear your suggestions.